Choujin X, blessed once again, back once again, bruh. Chapter 38, we have opium. And in this video, we have 5 sections that we will dissect in our overview, of course, going in sequential order. But first, I just wanted to point out a few things that stood out to me in the cover work, right? This is the first time we actually got a cover picture in about maybe 3 to 4 chapters, right? But the first thing that captured my eye is the centerpiece of Sora and MADO, because it's like, damn, we know what happens between these two. And it makes me sad because look at the happiness in Sora's face, bruh. She looks inviting. She looks accepting of MADO, who we know as an influential factor of Sora's downfall. And meanwhile, just look at MADO, mugging. She looks like an evil foster child. We also get a similar effect with Tokio's famed article photo as we learn more about the fate of those photographed alongside him. I thought it was cool how with Sora and MADO we first get the history between the two and then are hit with a happier moment that they shared, or at least that Sora had with her. In Tokio's case, we are first introduced to that photo as a victorious moment, only to learn that there's a sad story behind it. It was a very creative way to deliver information in an inverse fashion while still executing the same effect. We also get an image dedicated to our life support Choujin, but tinfoil shit, bruh. The Guilty flag. Doesn't MADO'S character design kind of represent the Guilty flag? I know that's Queen's eye at the center, but look at MADO'S left eye. Look at her hair, bruh. I don't know. I ain't gonna bend too far into it, but I'm just saying, bro, we don't know where she's from. And now, beginning with our first section of the chapter, we have MADO'S YAMATO MORI. First and foremost, it's nice that we actually begin with MADO because last chapter we got hit with that bomb, bruh. Sandek, kill your brother. But in chapter 38, we open the chapter as MADO wakes up and begins writing in her dream journal. Now, the June 17th entry could be acting as a display of power, showing how vague MADO'S premonitions can actually be, but maybe that June 22nd is something to look out for. As we know, it is currently June, both in real life and in the story. Like, we opened up this whole time skip with it being June. We also get a taste of MADO'S influence at YAMATO MORI, and I do appreciate that it is subtle rather than tossed in your face. Let me preface this by saying, so far in the series, we have been more exposed to the tower and even have spent more time within their walls than that of YAMATO MORI. True, in early chapters, we get tidbits of class sessions and training rooms, but now with this whole audience chamber scene, I think I understand why we were more intimately introduced to the tower first. What I'm saying is, does it not feel like we jumped from one cult to the next? The atmosphere here seems tense and hyper formal, like there's absolutely no room for personality. Even Ichiro is on his best behavior. This is a guy who isn't afraid to bend the rules and go overboard in front of Sandek. He saves Tokio from talking too much and later apologizes to MADO about the outburst. And I know that Sandek is the one who suggests that Ichiro and Tokio should rest before joining the special force, but look at his attire. This isn't a YAMATO MORI tracksuit or anything casual. My guy is dressed like a choir boy. Like, what's the difference between these scenes aside from the lights being off? But nonetheless, Tokio has made an impression on MADO, as we see in her conversation with Ichiro. But I believe that it leans more ominous than the idea of MADO actually approving of what Ichiro calls a sound heart. She basically replies, "I'm surprised someone as stern as you hasn't beaten it out of him. This is nothing to ignore." And as we transition from a scene where Tokio basically committed a sin, we get a moment where Tokio asks himself if YAMATO MORI is actually a place where he belongs. We see that he is willing to keep his promise and talk with Sora about her prophecy, which caused a scene in the audience chamber, and later on, he causes another scene during the Special Force meeting. Now, our next part occurs while Tokio and Ellie begin to catch up, and this acts as a naturally occurring info dump where we get a briefing on events between the time skip. What's first brought up by Tokio is a plane crash, which now adds context to this panel from chapter 36, where Ellie states that their failure to capture the Choujin alongside Nari was a repeat of the last time. We learned that in another crash rescue mission, the No Mask appeared and helped Nari escape. After the battle with Zora, the No Mask went on a spree in recruiting Choujin, which also adds context to this wanted poster from chapter 36 as well. Ellie also tells Tokio that AZUMA has been putting in that work, but honestly, in my opinion, I think the motivation for AZUMA wasn't centered around doing the right thing 100%, but more so assuring that he would be becoming stronger than Tokio and working harder than he had. As for Tokyo, we learned that becoming the hero of Iwato came with the price of losing all of the friends that he had made while over there. And that right there just takes Tokyo's character to a whole new height for me, no pun intended, because when we were first reintroduced to Tokyo, he still held a sense of humor and familiarity. Sure, he's more confident and can actually fight now, but he isn't lost by his misfortunes. Even with the Zora situation, I'm sure he understands the level of seriousness and what is at stake, but he wants to hear all sides before making a move and before possibly risking any more lives. Now we get an apology and amends made between Tokyo and Ellie. They each have something they want to show one another, which is still a mystery. But as for AZUMA, man, my boy's still in his feelings, still sassy, and not even acknowledging Tokyo in this scene, and remains standoffish. What we really need is more backstory on AZUMA, because we really only know him on a surface level. Something tells me that behind closed doors, he suffers from a traumatic childhood, possibly even an abusive father. As of right now, we really only know him in the same fashion of that of Ellie and Tokyo, which is a talented person who excels at the things he tries. We got hints of his character flaws, but I'm itching for more details about his home life and upbringing. Now for our final part, we have the black market. We are introduced to the life support Choujin, who has yet to be named officially, but something tells me that she is going to be the key to some peak mayhem in the future of this series. We see that she is currently working on an order for a client who is located within Minami, which is where all of our main cast resides, but if I had my guess, it's Batista, bruh. We know he is reaching out. But once she is complete with a successful revival of the deceased, we are given a hint to what her next move may be. The radio informs her about the fatalities and the plane crashing into the ocean, which would leave her with more merchandise to flip in the black market. But we also get the panel where she sees the tower and ponders what it is that they may be burning within that building. And let me just say, bruh, I am dumb because I always associated that smoke with Chandra or Mother, right? They both have the smoke ability, but it just hit me in this chapter. They burned the dead bodies there. All of those who couldn't accept the mark of the beast, they burn them, set them on fire. So she got options. She could go, click up with them. She could get the ocean bodies. It's gonna be hell. The future holds hell. We also learned that Zora is a pill-popping animal, bruh. She is a fiend. Like, she's basically a yeet lyric. And it is through this addiction that YAMATO MORI are strategizing a plan to take down Zora. Like, low-key, this sounds like a Far Cry mission, but I'm with it, because it adds a human factor to what Zora is, to what a Choujin is, right? There are Choujin out there who prefer to die than to go through the pain of raising, which would be suffering the pain of death without actually dying, right? And this is where I believe that the life support Choujin could aid Zora, right? She won't suffer the same fate as Queen's army, having people just lose morale, die. This life support service would actually prevent that. And of course, I can't forget the beauty bestowed upon us with the panel showing Queen and the war, but the standout information to me was that Queen was actually a product of experimentation, not a natural-born Choujin. Not only that, Queen's presence happened to awaken not only Zora, but Antitis as well, two powerful Choujin that led to his defeat. With the case of Zora and Antitis, it's as if they were infected and also mutated into greater Choujin. We currently know that Zora is trying to pass down her power onto the next generation, but what about Antitis, dog? Like, where is he? How did he die? How did their relationship become the way it is now? But man, with that being said, another solid chapter. The lore, the subtleness, everything about it, like, hey, it's Choujin X, bro. We can't expect nothing else besides greatness.